All right, Smelton Cop here again. I am behind on getting more videos out. I apologize for that. Today we're going to talk about being a light, and this will be a short one. And let me just start off reading this time, so to introduce you all I want to say. This is Matthew 5, coming just after the Beatitudes. So we're over here. Blessed are those who persecute you. So let's start off. Blessed are the peacemakers, because we call the sons of God, the sons of Elohim. I'm reading from my more Hebrew Bible. It's Hebrew and English. It's like the phonetics of Hebrew, I think, with like the actual Hebrew words still in there and spelling on one side and English spelling on the other phonetically. Not show off, just because my other Bible, I'm starting to have issues with the translation of that one, and I'm like, okay, that's not really what it should say there. I've read enough Bibles and know enough about translations to know sometimes the thought for thought and word for word translations. The thought is a little, can be sometimes, not all of them, but sometimes the thought for thought Bible can be a little off on some areas. They're good. They're good natured. Like it said, happy instead of blessed. Being blessed doesn't mean you're always happy about what's going on. That makes you blessed. But being blessed means that you are doing well. That God favors you. And it's trying to say, I think it'd be better if it said you should be happy. In some of these verses. So I'm just using this version of the Bible. But blessed are the peacemakers, because they should be called the sons of Elohim. Blessed are the persecuted for righteousness' sake, because theirs is the reign of the heavens. Blessed are you when they reproach you and persecute you, and falsely say every wicked word against you for my sake. Rejoice and be glad, because your reward is in the heavens, is great. For in this way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are the salt of the earth. For if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall it be seasoned? For it is no longer of any use but to be thrown out and to be trodden down by men. You are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand. It shines for all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in heaven, who is in the heavens. Yeah, it's the little dictation differences I'm so used to saying in another version, but this is a good translation. It's just keeping with the more Hebrew culture way of saying it, kind of more word for word. We say heaven, not the heavens, more commonly in English now. But I'm gonna stop there. And I'll make this point very quickly. Blessed are the peacemakers. And notice it says peacemakers, because you have to work for peace. Not quiet. Peace and quiet are two different things. Quiet is people just not complaining, not talking about an issue typically. It doesn't mean things are resolved. It just means things are quiet. It doesn't mean there's peace. A lot of being a law enforcement, so a literal peacemaker, that's our job, or peacekeepers. Not being able to do more of that this summer, which has been awesome. I definitely miss it. But you have to make peace by resolving issues and actually, in the Christian sense, confessing sins and dealing with sins. You can't have peace without truth. And a lot of times in our world today, we're about quiet, which means we're just being quiet. We're not talking about the issue. And that's wrong. You'll never have true peace. Everything will continue to get worse, and you'll cycle through all kinds of terrible things because you don't actually have peace, because you don't want to resolve your issue, or you're not resolving the issue. If it's something with a friend, a colleague, a spouse, whatever, if you're not really resolving the issue, you're just trying to get quiet, and you don't want to confess your own issue, then you'll never have peace. Because you're not actually getting peace. You're getting quiet. You don't want to talk about it. And if you don't want to talk about it, then you can't have peace. There's no peace if there's no truth. And if you're having to skirt around the truth, you'll never have peace. You'll have times of quiet. That's it. Historically, that's what happened with World War I. I forget the guy's name, but he said, like, this is not a peace. This is a 20-year armistice. And he was right. 20 years later, World War II started. Because there wasn't anything really resolved from World War I. It was that a group got beaten. The issues remained. Obviously, Germany got even pissed off more. And 20 years later, they started World War II and caused one of the greatest tragedies of the 20th century. But also here, we have that, song in church, hide it under a bush. Oh no, I'm gonna let it shine. Everybody's done this before. If you haven't held your finger up and sung This Little Light of Mine, you didn't have a childhood, and I'm sorry. You need to get to a church that sings this song for adults, or just go help in children's church, because you will sing this song in children's church and have your little light shine finger. And then you get a real flashlight. You are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men, so they see your good works and praise your Father who is in the heavens. The world's not going to be the one praising your good deeds. That's one thing I want to be really clear about here. Jesus is talking to people here who are already mostly Jewish, and the clarification here is that the world is not going to praise you for your good deeds. When he also said here, blessed are those persecuted for righteousness' sake. Even within the church, because I keep preaching about the church because I know there's a lot of churches out there that aren't good. I live in an area where most of them aren't. And you probably live in an area where most of them aren't. I have been thankful that I had my father, who was very good at finding churches, very, very good, and I've inherited that, thankfully, not through genes, but through diligence. And talking to him, and my uncle was a pastor who my dad would call and say, hey, what do you think of this church? What do you think of this church? And is there a network? Because I don't have that connection anymore since my uncle is dead. He's I should say dead. He's in heaven now, not concerning himself with this life. And I'm glad for that. And so is my mother, or stepmother. I learned from my uncle, from my father, read this and check what this says versus what the man up in the pulpit is saying. And that's why I say there are so few good churches. And there are many out there. I follow some online. There are some very good pastors. I think some of them are more like evangelists than they are pastors. But we can't hide our light. And I think that is a problem we're having with the church. I think that's a problem we have individually, is that we know that we shine our light in the darkness is going to hate it. Shine your light anyway. Shine your light anyway. Simply because you shining your light in that darkness, that's what you need. You take a flashlight into dark places. You don't shine your light in your house with the lights on. You don't shine your light when it's daylight outside. You shine your light where it's dark. So shine your light in that darkness. Yes, some of them will hate you. You're blessed for that. Shine your light out for people to see. And those who are drawn to the light and want to get out of the darkness, let them come to you. It does happen. I've gotten the chance to witness people this week. Or actually, I think it was last week now, because it's only Tuesday. So it was last week. And shining that light in that darkness even if you don't get to walk into Christ, could be the very thing that sends somebody else to him, that opens them up for someone else too. So shine your light. Don't be under the lampstand. Don't put a cover over your light. Yes, the world is going to hate you for it. They killed him for it. Still, blessed are the peacemakers. You got to get to the truth. And just understand these other Beatitudes that are in here. By the way, as a young Christian, I thought Beatitudes was B-E, like space, attitudes. These are the attitudes you should be. I was too old, I will say, to realize that was one word. So, in case anybody ever thinks I'm too smart, I also thought manna from heaven was literally loaves of bread. And I was far, far too old when I realized that was not the case. There is so much I knew about the Bible, but those two things, I was a very mature Christian before I realized that's not how you spelled that, and that's not what it meant. So there are things you can be very, very versed in the Bible and still miss some stuff. But blessed are the meek, because they shall inherit the earth. The meek aren't weak. The meek have power, but are humble. And they want to help. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because they shall be filled. Blessed are the compassionate, because they shall obtain compassion. Blessed are the clean in heart, because they shall see Elohim. Blessed are the peacemakers, because they shall be called sons of Elohim. So I'll just close this off here, because mainly you need the word, not me. This is what you need. You don't need my words. You don't need any of the pastor's words. Those still form together with the church. Find some group of believers and start a church. Something. Do something. But don't hide your light. Trump just got assassinated. Or assassinated is just an attempt. Let me clarify. That doesn't mean that people are just starting to turn. Just because politics turns one way or the other doesn't mean that they've turned good for the gospel. It doesn't mean that. Don't rest. Don't grow weary of doing good. Don't hide your light. It sucks sometimes. You're going to get persecuted for it. If you're doing it right, the world will hate you. The worldly Christians will hate you. That's for Christians in air quotes. Remember, both the Jews and the Gentiles didn't like a lot of things Jesus said. He wasn't great at what they call church building now. He wasn't soft on things. He was hard on things that need to be hard on. He was compassionate to the individual, but he always spoke out against sin. Just because he knew somebody in that sin doesn't mean he didn't speak against it. We know he spoke and visited tax collectors and prostitutes and all kinds of people. He was accused of being a drunkard because all kinds of things. But they were never true. And when he visited those who were sinners, he wasn't condoning their sin because he still preached against it. He still met Nicodemus because he wanted Nicodemus to come and believe him. But that's all I got for today. Remember, get in your word. Above all, read this every day. I will say reading and praying every day, every morning, before I did anything else. Well, once I got my eyes to work, because I'm getting old, and so sometimes waking up and trying to read right away, it didn't happen. So I gotta do something else to get my eyes awoken. Get in your word. That's why I don't show my face. That's why I just, whenever I do these videos, use the word. So get out there and read.